After the Titanic, if there was one ship that people were obsessed with, it was Mo Prover. It was the world's first cruise ship that was specially built to run on ice. Foreman's was so good at it that he even made a stop to risk many ships in these areas. But on the night of November 20, 2007, in the black and desolate Southern Ocean, this ship had such an accident that it was forced to leave the ship alone in the middle of the ocean. Welcome back once again in Storytime videos. In the late 1960s, traveling to these islands by sea was considered almost impossible. Because the sea there was full of ice, and in this Sura a normal ship to go there was like inviting death. But Eric Lindblad, in a Swedish-American basin, took it for granted and set out to build a ship that could easily travel to Antarctica. And those who dreamed of seeing Antarctica could fulfill their dream. The ship was named the Lundblad Explorer. Explorers comprise an if Atahas advice is done with Titanic or Ramus Alampak. So it must have been smaller than them, but there was no answer for it in strength. It was the first cruise ship built to take passengers across the icy waters of Antarctica. Normal ships cannot do this. If ever ships have to go into icy seas, they are fitted with icebreakers. But it was an Ice Class 1A ship, meaning it didn't need an icebreaker to navigate the ice. Rather, its hull was designed in such a way that the ice was broken by the weight of the ship itself. The ship had space for 104 passengers and 54 crew members. Along with all the luxury features in the Guru ship, there was one more thing that stood out in the glory of the Mo Explorer. Because it was built specifically for the trip to Antarctica, and its solution was built in double layer to avoid the perf there. As soon as the ship was launched, it became famous all over the world and people started wanting to go to Antarctica on board it. It was originally named the Lane-Blade Explorer, but over time, the ship's oars were decommissioned, and in 2004 it was finally purchased by Toronto-based adventure company Gabe Adventures, who renamed it Mo Explorer. Was given. After that, it was not found in the possession of any other owner, not even in the imagination of anyone. By 2007, Mo had traveled to the Dakotas of Antarctica as a supporter. But in November of the same year, he had to leave on a spur from which he never returned. It was November 2007, and Mo, a sportsman, was on his way to New York. It had to travel from Ushuaia in Argentina to Sutjeja Ilan via Fuklin Ilan and then to Antarctica. On November 11, 2007, 100 passengers and 54 crew members in Mo Explorer once again set off for this glorious journey to Antarctica. Or, sadly, everything was going on normally, no one had any idea that this beautiful journey of theirs was going to lead them into trouble. Amway was a loyal supporter of 49 Aries, the captain of a Explorer, who had sailed thousands of times on this icy sea. And because of this one incident, the passengers were thinking of Hoot as safe. But no matter how speedy the sub-captains of Antarctica are, they have to face different problems every time due to the physical conditions there. And every time a new challenge is ready for them. At the start of the Esfer, Captain Bankbyman made a Heron-Con decision. They wanted to divert the ship from their planned road to a new road. As the captain believed that by doing so he might be able to avoid more snowy areas and reach his destination. The opening ceremony was going quite normally. But on the evening of November 22, the sun was shining and the passengers were preparing to go to their cabins. During this time, Moa's supervisor entered an area where there was a lot of snow. The captain announced that we were passing through an icy area. That's why noise will be created due to the frequent breaking of snow, and this night you all have to bear. Due to the storm, the captain reduced the night speed to just 5 knots. That is, due at 10 kilometers. Such a night was moving from the thin ice layer to the thick and old ice layer area. But the captain didn't realize that because there were 10 ducks in the night and he wasn't paying much. Keep the Atanak Shab with a loud sound during Adirat. At first, no one understood anything, but then the night of the looting has been covered by a hard snow. Because the captain has already ordered it. That is why many passengers did not pay attention to this sound and continued to sleep. After some time, the captain managed to drive Shab through the door. Amia Spur now drove the ice through the frozen sea. But the passengers did not know that there was a clue in the solution of the night. And now the water has started to freeze in the middle of the night. The sleeping passengers woke up when their cabins began to fill with water. Since the passengers were in the upper part of the cabin, the water reached there first. Seeing this, a wave of fear suddenly disappeared among the passengers. Everyone started running for their lives. Water now ships from every possible place.
I was entering, be it a light switch, duct veined, or a door opening. By the time the Cubans were full of water, By putting the first day, there is a small damja on which the kaboo can be drunk. But when the pressure of water was increasing, so Cubans has also come out of kaboo after being understood. Tefan immediately ordered the ship to be evacuated and charged the fee to deploy all lifeboats code. Meanwhile, the ship had left the icy lock. But due to the overflowing water, she moved aside. The hostages were desperate to evacuate the ship quickly and save human lives. The ship travels 46 kilometers from its destination and arrives at the destination with the same ship. It was impossible. On the other hand, there was also the problem that the Antarctic Sea was ice-covered. It was very cold, and because of the cold air here, it was not possible to put much on the lifeboats. That's why Cubton started sending SOS signals to me and other ships near one of the explorers. These signals were sent to ships named National Geographic and Nord. But these ships were also far away, and it was not possible for them to reach there. A slow trickle of water began to trickle into a splutter super room. This is the room where all the ship's machinery is kept. That is, the entire ship is powered from this room. Owing to the flooding of this room, Amway now became all the ecclesiastics of a splutter. Closed. The seeds of the icy ocean of these tac-tacs are now envious splutterer. I watched alone in my heart. Its engines were built, and now the ships were at the mercy of the rough sea waves. Where the captain was worried about evacuation, now he was denying him even an idea. If the ship's engine was not restarted, strong winds and waves could drive the ship into the icy area. An attempt was made to manually start the engines due to an electrical failure. Happily, this idea worked, and the engines were once again restored. Grave members speed up the process of evacuating the ship. In Kuchhader, all the people on board boarded the jar lifeboards and went down into the shallow water. Try to straighten out some sad captains and some grieving memberships. But eventually the engines started to grind again. Now, the water was being taken away fast in a super yacht, and the captain had to make a decision as soon as possible. The captain and some crew members also got off the ship and boarded the lifeboards. Now more than 100 of these dead people were in lifeboards waiting for help under the open sky in the coldest Southern Ocean. And the hot wind was going to make their wait more and more difficult. The wait continued for the next 4 hours, and finally a ship arrived to rescue them. It was not the ship that the captain called the Asso. All the people were played successfully, but the mother had only written 2 in the fortune of one sportsman. An investigation team was also set up at the hands of a SP, from which it was concluded that the loss was caused by the movement of Captain Bent Wyman. Since the captain mistaking the barf for the first year for thin barf, the ship entered the area. In fact, it was a fat layer of many years old barf. Today, a plover shipwreck lies 25 miles southeast of Pangan Elon in a 1,300-meter jirai. I hope you will like and share this video of story time. Thank you for your kind comments in the next wonderful videos.